Hello everyone and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave. All right. Welcome back everybody to An Hour with Dave. And I am here today with a very special guest. It's going to be part 3 because you remember in the last few times we had a gentleman by Mojica, then we had a lady by Rosemary here, and they had different issues, different cases, and now we got the first Latino who's running for DA, Carlos Vega, and I said it correctly.
Thank you so much, because the last time I was at the studio.
And we're going to be discussing with him a few things. The mics are open and the phone lines are lit. And of course, you can text messages in. But in all fairness, you know David, and An Hour with Dave, anything on this show that's said is my opinion and my guest's opinion. And I thank him for coming. It is not the opinion of USALA Media, because this is An Hour with Dave. It's not anything else. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. You're running for DA, and I'm proud to see that we have a Latino running for the district attorney's office. You know, as in every position, some people criticize, some people hate. Just like on my radio show, they hate me, they love me, they love me. It's part of the course for what we got. I spoke to you earlier about a case that complained about the way her son was being treated. Do you remember that?
Remember that case when we spoke, you were amazed that I would remember a case that was so old.
Yeah.
But I remember every case I've prosecuted, and I've done over 450 murder trials.
Now, she complained that her son did not get fairly and due process. I explained to her also that it's the one process for the DA, it's one process for either a private attorney or a attorney that's appointed.
Correct.
The DA's office responsibility is to prosecute.
Yes, my job is this: when there is evidence, I present that evidence in court. I present in front of a jury. And what it is, the beauty of the American system is this: I don't decide someone's guilt or innocence, neither does the defense attorney. It's 12 jurors that are selected that we, the defense attorney, the DA, picks together.
Okay, and the 12 jurors are picked prior by both sides?
They're picked by both sides, and when they hear the evidence and then they hear the law, it has to be a unanimous verdict. It's not a majority. 12 people have to agree that the person is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If the DA doesn't reach that burden, the verdict must be not guilty.
Okay, if the DA doesn't reach that verdict. In this particular case, and I'm not trying to dog you on it, there was a first preliminary trial?
There's a preliminary hearing where a municipal court judge hears the evidence and says there's enough evidence to go to trial. Then it goes to common pleas court.
And in this particular case, the judge said there wasn't enough evidence. Then it moves on to the next stage, correct?
No, he said there was enough evidence.
There was.
And then it went to the next stage where the gentleman had 2 trials.
Okay.
And the first trial is what we call a hung jury. The 12 people could not agree whether he was guilty or not. When that happens, the judge has to declare a mistrial, and the case is given back to the DA, and we decide whether to go to trial again or not. We decided to go back to trial again, and at the second trial, the jury, all 12, agreed that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay. Now, when that happens, I believe that if a person has, there's certain rules that have to be met, not by yours, because you're going to continue to go on as far as they let you go on. Okay? Following the law, following the rules that pertain to the DA's office. On the defense side, are they rules that they have to make sure that they fight? Because they have to object to every step you take.
Well, absolutely. What it is when you think of a criminal case, a defendant has the power of the Constitution, right to remain silent, presumption of innocence, the right to a free attorney, and a right to a jury trial.
Okay.
When you're a victim, you don't have any rights when you're killed or you're raped or you're robbed. Your rights kick in when you go to court and a DA is advocating for you. I'm the lawyer for the people who are silent, so I present that evidence. But in terms of the defense attorney, under their oath, their job is to prepare the case adequately, use investigators to investigate if there's any evidence that would prove his innocence or at least get evidence to him not be found not guilty. And also, if there's an offer made by the DA, he must convey that offer. So let's say an offer is made. If he keeps that offer a secret and doesn't share with his client, that client could get a new trial immediately because the lawyer violated his oath of giving him all the information to make an informed decision whether to go to trial or to accept a guilty plea.
In any case, is there a set of rules that says the DA or the attorney that's appointed has to see their client any specific amount of time before their case?
Well, in terms of the DA, I had to prepare my case a certain way. But the burden on the defense attorney is he has to visit his client and prepare his case. And there's no magic rule saying I have to see my client 5 days or 10 days. It's not a magic thing. Let's say there's an appeal where a person says my lawyer was ineffective, meaning he didn't do his job. Then the courts would look at, well, how did you prepare a case? How many hours did you put into it? Did you visit your client? How many times did you visit your client? So the judge makes a ruling of saying, you know what, you didn't go see your client enough, or you didn't communicate with your lawyer. Or you might say, no, absolutely, that lawyer did his or her job. Usually that lawyer will present evidence of saying, this is how many hours I billed the city, these are the investigators I used, and these are the man hours and the reports he did. Because then that defense attorney is basically protecting his reputation, because if you are ineffective, your client could do what's called a disciplinary complaint and go to the district court saying that you are ineffective, you didn't do your job, and they could take away your license to practice law or suspend you.
Okay, and again, that has nothing to do with the DA attorney that's on the case.
Not at all. My job is to present evidence, but the defendant has so many protections. As I said, the force of the Constitution,
right.
But also if you believe your lawyer didn't do his job, there's a remedy called PCRI, post-conviction review, where you go in front of a judge and saying, this is what happened in my case, and this is what my lawyer didn't do or should have done. And then the other remedy is to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else, bring in a complaint to the district court.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough, because I'm sure in every case, everybody in jail says they're innocent. Let's face it.
And there's an appellate process, because in the case you were discussing with me, not only did he have 2 trials, an offer was made to him, which was a very good offer. He chose to not take it. In fact, I recall when the lawyer said, he didn't say my client's innocent. He said, my client says he can beat this case. And I think there's a difference, someone saying I didn't do this, to saying you don't have enough evidence that I can beat this case.
Okay.
And then there's an appellate procedure, because when you're found guilty, it doesn't end there. You appeal to the Supreme Court. In this case, everything was affirmed. The Supreme Court looked at the case and said everything was legal. Your lawyer did a good job. The DA did a good job. It went to the Supreme Court, where they denied reviewing it because they said there's no issues to look at.
Okay, so this particular case went to got as far as the Pennsylvania Supreme Court?
No, it went to the Superior Court.
Right, Superior Court.
And then the Supreme Court doesn't take every case.
Right.
They look at it, and when they look at the record, they go, there was nothing wrong. We're not going to review it because the lower court, we agree with the lower court, so we're not going to look at it. So I know it went to the Superior Court. I do not believe, and I don't have the record with me now, I think the Supreme Court did what they call denied aliquota, which means is they made a request, can you look at it? The Supreme Court says, we're not going to review it because there's no issues that rise to that level that we should look at it.
Now that stops there, or is there still opportunities if they continue to view the case and feel that they got more evidence that he or she did not get?
Yeah, as I said,
they can continue to go to the Supreme Court with it, or
no, they could go back to lower court for the post-conviction review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a process there, and if they lose there, they can go to federal court. You know, so the process really is never ending, because you do all state court. When you exhaust that, you go to federal court, and then you come back. So a person could appeal 20, 30 years. And when you're in jail, you have the time to, you know,
Right.
secure and try and find that relief.
Unless you get like a pardon from the government.
A
From the governor?
pardon or a commutation.
Okay.
Uh,
Now that only comes from the governor.
the governor and the board of board of pardons. So there is a board that it's several people on there that decide, reviewing your record, what you did, and whether they believe you've been rehabilitated, whether you're a threat to the community, and they make that decision. So
Even in a case where you have life without the chance of parole?
absolutely, yes. And
So that he or she can still go before the board.
yeah, which is asking for, I did wrong, but I'm asking for mercy. The only issue there is the Board of Pardons wants you to accept responsibility.
Ah.
So
okay.
if you say I'm innocent, the Board of Pardons say, well, there's nothing to pardon because you say you didn't do it. For the Board of Pardons to say, I did this, it was horrible, I accept it, and I've made amends. I'm a better person. I'm not that person who committed that crime anymore.
Okay.
So the Board of Pardons is not somebody saying I'm innocent. It's saying
So there is little things that you have to look at. So if you go this route with the Board of Pardons, you got to accept or admit that you did something wrong.
And
I've
had cases that they've gone all the way to federal court, and when that doesn't work, then they say, okay, I did do it, kid, I get pardoned. It's, you know, it's the system. It's the American system, and some people might disagree,
Right.
but it's the system we have. So, you know, the motto is better than 100 guilty people go free than one innocent man go to jail. So
Right.
there's so many safeguards to make sure you get out if there's something wrong, if somebody made a mistake.
And there are agencies out there that actually advocate for people in prison.
There's lots of agencies or nonprofits that advocate for pardons and commutations. Absolutely.
Okay. And these people that advocate would advocate for you, like, for example, the governor, to say, can you look at this case? Can you?
And the Board of Pardons. And there are hearings all the time. And what the Board of Pardons does, which I would do as DA, is this. I still have to be the voice of that victim. Because in that process, I had to talk to that mother or father who lost their child, or that child who lost their parents,
Right.
to say, how do you feel? You might have some families say, you know, I think the length of time is served is enough. I'm okay if you pardon him. There are other families saying, no, you know, my child was tortured. I think 6 weeks ago, I had to testify in federal court on a case, and I remember it, where this man killed two people. They were witnesses to a burglary, and he drowned the mother in the bathtub and drowned the father in a bucket of water and left the 2-year-old child to fend for themselves till she was found. Basically went to federal court, and the DA's office under Krasner was on the side of the defendant, where the federal judge goes, and that 2-year-old now is a woman. She says, I wasn't notified, and I don't want them to leave. He destroyed my life. And the federal judge had to appoint the attorney general to be the voice of that victim, because the DA's office did not really want to be her voice. And that is a problem when the current DA is not advocating for the victim, when he has the force, as I say, the Constitution, his lawyer, and all those appellate procedures.
So there is avenues for any family, not only in your case as a DA lawyer, any case that it was prosecuted by the DA, there are avenues for everyone to be able to go on.
Robberies, murders, any
right.
case, you all have the same protections. And as I say, they are protections, and you can use it. And you have the right to a free attorney. And that's the other thing. What I'm saying is this. The Constitution says you have a right to an attorney, and you don't have to pay for them. If you have money, you pick your own attorney, but you have a right always to a free attorney to navigate all those issues for you.
Okay, and we're going to get ready to take our first break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to see what changes you want to see when you become DA in the DA's office. Okay, but last thing is, do they have the resources necessary in the public defender's office, in the DA's office, to adequately prepare for a case?
They do have the public defenders.
The same thing.
Yeah, they have the same thing. That the DA's office has the resources.
Private investigators, etc.
Yeah, well, the DA uses usually police, law enforcement.
Right.
The public defender has resources because they have a budget, and most of their investigators are former law enforcement, so they're trained investigators. So they do have the resources.
Okay.
Now, as any agency, and you know about government, they always want more. You know,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is they're adequately
And if
funded.
okay, so in these particular cases and I have other cases that were sent in to me that had nothing to do with you.
Okay.
And their complaint was the same thing. They do have avenues to check into, and they do have avenues to check, and they may be somewhere along the line somebody didn't get treated right. I mean, I don't think 100% of 100 people are guilty.
Well, and that's why you have the system of checks and balances.
Right.
You understand? There's always that human element.
Okay.
You know, so you got the Supreme Court, the federal court, coming back to local court with post-conviction.
And we
appeal.
must remember that there's also victims on the other side.
People always forget that there's a victim, that I'm their lawyer. People always forget about that victim. They're forgotten. And, you know, the newspaper always talk about this person charged. Let's talk about the people dying. The example is this: 499 people were murdered last year. They just say a number. Do you understand? Those were children, parents killed.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. We're going to take a break. and we come back, we're gonna listen to what Mr. Vega wants to do if he becomes the DA. Okay, and let's give him his second chance to tell people all the great things that he's gonna do that Krasner is not doing. Ready? Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave.
Welcome back, everybody. This has been an interesting segment here, and we got another 15 minutes, and I want to give Mr. Vega the opportunity. Again, everybody who's out there, for him to talk about his experience, how long he's been there, and what kind of changes he thinks would serve the public better as if he was in charge of the public
District
Attorney's office. Before I say the wrong office.
Okay. Well, a little bit about myself. My family came from Puerto Rico. I was born in New York. I come from a family of bodegueros, so my family owned a grocery store in New York during the 60s and 70s. And you know, that was the height of the heroin epidemic in the country. And so my family experienced a lot of violence. They were robbed at gunpoint, knife point. But also friends of mine were swallowed up by the street. They ended up in prison, drug overdoses because of that epidemic. They didn't have the opportunities I had, which was my mother worked really hard to put me and my brothers and sisters in Catholic school where we were safe and got a better education than the public schools at that time. In 1982, I came to Philadelphia. I was recruited by the DA then, Rendell, who became the governor and endorsed me in this race. And I stayed here in 1982 and remained here and raised a family. I was the first Latino to become or enter the homicide unit to try murder cases in the city and the entire state. I was the only Latino for 30 years to be in the homicide unit. My oldest son lives in Europe. My two younger ones, I have custody of them. I raised my daughter since she was 5, she's 24, and my young boy since he was 9, he's 17. So I was at a crossroads because I believe in public service, because I want to be that voice for people like my mother who can't speak English well, doesn't know the system. And, you know, looking at me, they go, he gets me, he's been there. But also be that voice to give people a chance who I know are good people, but made mistakes or didn't have opportunity, but, you know, and they could be redeemed. So I remained there, and when I had to raise that family on my own, rather than leave the office, I worked 15 years at night at UPS. So I was trying some of the most important murders during the day, and at night loading and unloading trucks at night to be able to take care of my family and give them the education that I had, that my mother gave me. I've tried over 450 murder cases. Never once has a case been brought before the district board against me. And I believe we're in a time of crisis. You know, people are suffering, people are dying. Since Krasner took office, the murder rate has been going steadily up. I know the pandemic escalated things, but if you look at the real stats, the murder rate across the entire country was going down. But in Philadelphia, it was going up under his administration. And then with the pandemic, all the cities got a rise in violence. Absolutely. So we can't blame him totally for that. But we have to see that he has not addressed violent crime. Seriously, we've had Commissioner Outlaw and before her Commissioner Ross, both commissioners of color, saying we're taking illegal guns off the street in record numbers, but it's a revolving door. There have to be consequences. So day one, what I want to do is this. I want to have our office be transparent because that has gone. Family members have been calling me that they don't know what the DA's office is doing. They're doing pleas and they're not notified. They find out on TV or in the street.
So let me slow you down there a minute. They're doing pleas without letting the family member know that the person that they're about to let go or thinking about letting go, the family doesn't have a chance for their voice.
Yes. Now you have to understand the family can't tell the government what to do, but out of respect that you lost your child, or out of respect that you've been raped, we should at least tell you what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Do they have a chance to speak up at the parole hearing or anything?
They have a right to speak in court. It's under the Victim's Bill of Rights. So let's say you're convicted of a crime, right? And I'm robbed. Although I can't tell the judge what sentence to give, I have a right to appear in front of the court and say, this is what happened to me. I'm afraid to walk by myself. Or let's say you were cut in the face saying, I now walk around with a scar because of this person. So, and the judge listens to that. Now, a victim can't say what to give, but they can say what effect that crime has had upon them. And especially in murder, you'll hear a parent or a child say, the loss of my father or the loss of my son has had this impact on me. So
Okay.
that is gone. I have all my, what I call my families, have my cell number. All I would tell them is I'm busy in court, text me and I'll call you at night. So they knew every step of the process. So number one, be transparent. Number two, address the gun violence issue with a focused deterrence program. It's a program that was created by the Kennedy School of Government in Harvard. It's a program that works. We did it in South Philadelphia and reduced violent crime by 35%. And it's a program where me as the leader, I bring in federal agencies, law enforcement, state agencies. We investigate that small group of people that are committing the crime. And then we bring in city government, business leaders, church leaders. And we bring in those individuals, those gang organizations, and say, we know what you're doing. We know who you are. We're giving you an alternative. We're going to give you job training. We're going to give you jobs. We're going to give you all this opportunity. We're asking you to put down the guns. We don't want to lock you up. But if you commit a crime and don't take that opportunity, we're coming after you. We're coming after you. And successfully, and the second part is have DAs that are properly trained to prosecute murders, gunpoint robberies, carjackings, and felons who have a gun to be successful in court and pursue appropriate consequences at sentencing. So that's one part. The other part is I believe we need diversionary programs because there's violent crime and we see what's happening. We may have 600 murders this year. But I believe in diversionary programs because we see it. The example is Kensington. And in '82, I started in Kensington because I speak Spanish. I've never seen it that bad. And what I see is this. There are people addicted to drugs, mental health issues, homelessness, that I want to put them in diversionary programs, not putting them in jail, giving them the help they need. Because everybody forgets these are good people that have bad circumstances or made a mistake. And we have to put them in programs to address that, getting them back on their feet. Because I always say this, these are good people. There's someone's child, someone's daughter, someone's son who needs that help. So and they're committing crime to feed an addiction or the problem they have. So that's what I want to do. Safety and reform, but doing it properly and not forgetting that my primary purpose is to keep you safe, keep your children alive.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. Now, your election's coming up.
It's tomorrow.
We've got 3 minutes left.
Yes.
3 minutes. I want to give you that 3 minutes for you to address the public directly. And
Okay, I got you.
go.
My website is VEGAforDA.com. It's all one word, VEGAFORDA.com. Tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow will decide your future. It will decide whether children will be alive, whether children will be allowed to play in the street, whether businesses are going to thrive. So what I'm saying is this, I have 35 years experience. I'm a person of color that has faced discrimination, has faced unfairness. I have broken barriers, and I believe in public service. I did it for 35 years, and I want to do it again because I fear for the life of every child. I think it's an outrage for us to accept 499 murders, to accept that we're going to have 600 murders. What's going to happen is this: if this violence continues and we don't get the reform, people are going to leave the city, businesses are going to leave, and we're going to have poverty. So we need to stop it now. Protect our children, give diversionary programs, and have businesses thrive once again. Because when there is business in the city, that's opportunity. Those are jobs for our people.
Beautiful. How we looking? Okay, everyone, I want to tell you now, and I want to thank you for coming on the show and to be open and fair and giving us your opinion past and now. I wish you luck.
Thank you.
In your tomorrow's race. And I got to tell you this. I got to tell everybody, if you don't come out and vote, do not complain about the system or individuals that work in the system. It is your responsibility to come out and vote. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. If you don't vote, the consequences are on you. We good? We're ready for a break? We're going to break now, and we'll continue on. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an hour with Dave, a straight shoot talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 hour with Dave. Continue on with today's guest. Right now we have a very important guest on, because I keep telling everybody that we have a Supreme Court race that's coming up, and you got to be responsible to get out and vote. Okay? If you don't vote, you're not going to have a voice in what's coming and what's going to hit you. Okay? I'm going to have my guest come on and introduce himself, because I want you to understand and hear what this man has to say. A lot of experience, a lot of things going on, and I want to show you that we need to get out and support this man. Okay? So everybody, give a big minute, and I'm going to have him introduce himself. Go. Can't hear him. Is he on? We lost the audio. Judge?
Can you hear me okay?
Now we can hear you, sir.
Okay, that's great.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. It is my extreme pleasure. And once the primary is over, I want to have you on for like an extended hour so we can really discuss and give you the support we need to give you.
So go ahead. Thank you. Well, look, I'm the President Judge of the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. I've been the President of the Commonwealth Court for 11 years, statewide appellate court judge. It's been my pleasure to serve the people of Pennsylvania. I am the endorsed Republican candidate running for Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice this year. But that's my job. That's not who I am. I am the grandson of a Philadelphia police officer. I'm the son of a Pennsylvania State Trooper. And I am the father of 3 beautiful children who don't fall far from the tree. They just happen to be my wife's tree. I have a 20-year-old daughter who studies art therapy at Seton Hill, an 18-year-old student athlete who's an Eagle Scout, attending George Washington University in the fall on a 3-year Army ROTC scholarship. and a 13-year-old who is a big football fan, and probably is the reason why I have all the stars on my logo. Gabe's a great kid, has been hitting the campaign trail with me. So that's who I am. It's been a pleasure to serve the people of Pennsylvania, and I think I can do something really good for the people of Pennsylvania in the Supreme Court, and I'm honored to be able to press that case with your listeners today.
Your Honor, the only thing I get messages here and on my board is they want to know your name.
Oh, I said that. I thought I said that. I thought I said that. Kevin BROBSON, Republican candidate for Supreme Court Justice.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we're gonna be everybody. They used to be giving your name. I wanted to give you the whole floor. But listen, if you're a Republican out there, okay, look at what he's doing. Look at the experience he's got. He's a family man. He's a loving man. He's from our neck of the woods. You know, if you're a Republican, come on, wake up, get out there, get your votes in. Let's not sleep. The Supreme Court position is very important. We cannot lose this seat. This seat is becoming open because somebody's retiring, correct?
That's correct. Chief Justice Saylor is reaching mandatory retirement age.
Okay, and he was a Republican?
He is a Republican.
He was a Republican. Well, he is not. He ain't gone.
Conservative Republican for over 2 decades on the Supreme Court, and he's got big shoes to fill. But I have 11-year track record as a conservative judge in Pennsylvania, holding government accountable to the law. That's what I plan to do on the Supreme Court.
Beautiful, because I mean, I'm sure you've handled so many cases now that it's important that we get a fair person in there. And I keep telling everybody, once you get people into these positions, you want the person that's going to be in there not to look at somebody from what political party they come from, not to look at somebody what race they are, to be actually fair. Fair is the one thing that we need to look at. And we can't allow the court systems to be bombarded with one political side or the other who's not going to be fair to everybody, because that's not the way the Constitution was set up, and that's not the way the system was set up. Your Honor, how do you expect to be in there, and what are you hoping to do once you're there?
Well, I think the important thing is, like you said, is too many people feel that the judicial system is not fair, that it's partial one way or the other, that it's out of balance, that it's political. And I tell everyone that, look, I don't wear red, I don't wear blue, I wear black. And my job is to apply the law as written, to not legislate from the bench, to give everybody a fair shot, to make sure everybody feels like they have a fair shot in front of my court, and then to write an opinion that everybody can understand. I don't promise people results. They won't agree with me 100% of the time, but what I do promise them is I'll write an opinion that they can understand, and then they can hold me accountable for my decisions. And that's all any good judge should do.
Okay, and in this case, you'll be receiving cases in the Supreme Court that people are asking to look at because they may feel they didn't get a fair shot at something, or they want to protest about something. And we need to have people with level heads in there, level mindsets, and feeling that they got to give everybody an equal shot.
Yeah, well, these are the Supreme Court handles the highest of high profile cases that affect all Pennsylvanians, not just the parties in front of them. And that's what we've been doing in the Commonwealth Court for 11 years. How we educate our children, how we care for our elderly, how we protect our historic and natural resources, how we own our property, how we tax, how we elect our officials. These are cases that have broad impacts. And that's the kind of cases the Supreme Court hears. So to have someone up there that cares just as much about government following the law as the government expects people to follow the law, that's what the people of Pennsylvania want, and that's the experience that I bring.
Well, what I would like to do, Your Honor, is that when you win the primary and get past all of this, I want to take and have an entire hour of my segment to have you come in and really explain to people, because, some of the people down here, I don't even know what exactly is the job of the Supreme Court. How do they handle? What's the process? What's going on? And I think it's important that the people down in the cities and the regular everyday voters need to have somebody to come out and say, okay, I'm going to come on the show or Zoom into the show, and we're going to take that hour, try to explain to people. I'm sure you can't tell them in 1776 this whole thing started, but an idea so that people have somebody that they can relate to. I think that's important moving on to November.
I'd be honored to do that, and I'll do one better. When I get elected Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice, I'll bring the courts into the communities so the courts can ask the judges questions about the judicial system, express their concerns about why it's fair or not fair, and really listen to the people, because that's what we do as elected statewide judges. We serve the people of Pennsylvania. So I'll come on your show after the primary.
Beautiful.
And God willing, when I win in November, I'll bring the court to the communities.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to hold you to it because I do hold people to things they say. Even though I'll be a little nervous having a judge that high up next to me, I'll make sure I have my tickets paid and everything else. But I would appreciate this. Again, give them your name, tell them who you're running for, because I want every Republican can hear my voice that can vote for him. Let's get out there. It's tomorrow, and we need to do this the right way. Go.
Yep. Kevin Brobson, Republican candidate for Supreme Court Justice. I'm in the second ballot position in tomorrow's election. BROBSONforPA.com or Kevin Brobson for PA on Facebook. I'd be honored to have your support in tomorrow's election.
Beautiful. Thanks, everyone. Jan, I wish we had more time. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm honored to have you on my show. On my little show, because having you on, it's no small task for me. I feel like I'm like the Jefferson moving on up now with guests.
Hey, we'll do this in person next time.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Good luck, and you got my vote. Don't forget that.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much, Dave.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. An Hour with Dave. We have our last guest for the day, and I left the best for the last, and a very special guest. And I have not gotten direct time to be able to speak to this young lady, but she's got a lot to say and a lot of good advice. And everybody needs to listen to Ashley, because I'm going to tell you what she's about to tell you today. I've been telling you for a while. It has to do with the 2 questions or the several questions on the election ballot. First, we're going to say hi. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Fantastic.
Finally, we get to at least see each other.
I know. Thank you so much for having us. We are so grateful for the opportunity.
If you want to tell everybody your full name, who you are, and the agency you're with before we get started.
Hey, absolutely. Ashley KLINGSMITH. I am coming from the opposite side of the turnpike down in Greensburg in Westmoreland County out in Southwest PA. But I am the state director with Americans for Prosperity Pennsylvania. We have a full-time grassroots infrastructure across Pennsylvania, 7 full-time staff. Each and every day, we get up, we identify, educate, and mobilize Pennsylvanians to really unite behind policies that are going to advance opportunity, right? So we just want as many Pennsylvanians as possible to realize the least arduous path possible to their version of the American dream, whatever that is. And Harrisburg and Washington, D.C. is consistently erecting barriers to folks just getting, having the opportunity to pave their path toward the American dream. And so we work to dismantle the barriers that have been erected and make sure that we're opposing legislation that's going to kind of put up new hurdles in the way. And so it's a great time. We work across all 67 counties in Pennsylvania. And so it's really our privilege. We are the biggest grassroots group that's nonpartisan and nonprofit. So we work with anyone to do good.
Well, and we appreciate it because I know that I work closely with one of your guys, is Linwood. Um,
Yes.
and let me tell you, you got the best of the best of the best when you got him. He's an
No doubt about it.
incredible young man. I love having just walking with him and having a cup of coffee and talking because you know once you meet Linwood and now meeting you and the organization, you can see that everything comes from the heart. It has a meaning to it. Your resources, your things you're trying to do, I really appreciate it. I don't want to take up all your time. I want you to get the chance to talk about what you're coming on the show for that's very important to the organization. And it should be important to everybody out here, what she's about to talk about. So I'm not going to interrupt her. I'm going to let her speak. Go for
No,
it.
we so appreciate it. Listen, a couple of months ago, we launched our Final Say PA campaign, and we set out to talk with as many folks as we could, from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, over to Philly, up to Scranton, over to Potter County, and back over to Erie, all across the four corners of the Commonwealth, everywhere in between, to make sure they knew about the constitutional amendments that are going to appear on your May 18th primary ballot. You're going to see them tomorrow when you head to the poll to vote. They are critically important for Pennsylvanians to weigh in on, particularly after the past 14 months of unilateral rule in Harrisburg by one man, and that's Governor Tom Wolf. I think many of us learn early on in civics that we have a government that has three separate co-equal branches, right? We have a judiciary, we have a legislature, and we have an executive branch. Well, for too long in Harrisburg, since the advent of COVID, Governor Wolf has been making unilateral decisions that we know have had devastating impacts on folks' lives and livelihoods. And all these constitutional amendments are going to do is reassert the voice of the people by allowing the General Assembly to get re-engaged in the conversation. And so there are three questions. One of them is just going to say, hey, no longer does a disaster declaration last for 90 days. It's going to shorten it down to 3 weeks, 21 days. And then if the legislature wants to extend it beyond that, they can, but it's just going to end after 3 weeks. And all that means is after 3 weeks, Governor Wolf doesn't get to make decisions in a vacuum or in a silo. He's got to talk to the folks in the state house and in the state senate. And that's why, so many of us go to the polls to begin with, is we elect a state representative and a state senator to serve as our voice in both of those chambers. And so this is just putting them, positioning them to be part of the conversation. The next one would say, hey, if a simple majority of the legislature wants to end a disaster declaration, they are able to. Doesn't have to be a 2/3 veto proof, just a simple majority. And so that is all these are about. When you read them on the ballot tomorrow, they are going to read in a much more confusing and convoluted way because they're pretty lengthy and there is a lot of text there. But if you distill it down to the plain terms, it's about shortening the duration of the emergency and then just saying, hey, by simple majority, our legislature can end the disaster declaration. And then the third ballot.
So okay, go ahead. What's the third one? Go ahead.
Yeah. The third ballot question is just going to say that it's going to codify what we already have in law and just say that in the Constitution, we will enshrine equal protection based on race and ethnicity. So the state could not discriminate based on either of those factors. So we are advocating for a yes vote for that as well. Absolutely.
So you're saying yes or no? You're asking them to say yes or no?
Yes on number one, yes on number two, and yes on number three.
All right. Everybody got that? We said
Absolutely.
yes. I know that I've been reaching out to a whole lot of people. And I believe you were on one of my community meetings.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're reaching out and we're getting people over and over and over again. Please, I don't care what party, Do not ignore these questions. It's the
Absolutely.
easiest things for us to do. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure meeting you. You got to come back on the radio show when you get more than 15 minutes to talk.
Hey, anytime.
So we can discuss more about what you're doing and what's going on. Please, everybody, listen to what she's saying. Okay, listen to what she's saying. Yes, yes, yes. Not very
Absolutely.
difficult to do. Take
And
the time.
It's so important to note, this transcends politics. This transcends this current administration. This is going to amend our Constitution to shore up that fundamental American virtue, that we have 3 separate branches of government, not one guy from, living in Dauphin County that gets to make all the decisions for the rest of us in all 66 other counties.
Beautiful. Everybody out there, what did you send him with the Poconos? I mean,
yeah, he'll be up in the.
How does he get the Poconos? He's gonna get nice after it's all over. Is he gonna sit there with the deep tubs and I don't know. I think I'm working for the wrong people, doing the wrong thing. It ain't working out for me. We got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. So, anybody, any questions for this young lady?
Yeah, happy to take any questions. But again, I would just point out, when our governor has the ability to unilaterally create and suspend a law, we all know what that meant. That meant, the filtering of infected COVID patients back into nursing homes. He made that decision with our former Secretary of Health. Without consultation of our General Assembly. The people that were closest to what was going on in their communities were left out of the conversation. We also know that confusing waiver process for businesses that were deemed essential or non-essential. There was no transparency around that whatsoever. And so we're just excited for folks to have the final say tomorrow. That's why we named our campaign Final Say PA. We urge you all, go to finalsaypa.com, sign that pledge that you're going to go and vote, share it if you're willing in these final few hours before the polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate, hopefully everybody paid attention to it, and if people did write-in ballots, that scares the hell out of me. These write-in ballots with people, if they did not answer them questions. Because that, again, what I'm always saying to everybody, if you don't vote, you just got to accept the consequences,
Absolutely.
So we're ready to take our end of our show yet, and I want to say thank you for coming on, and God bless you guys, and God bless what you're doing, and next time send me to the Poconos with Linwood, so
I can't wait to meet you in person, prayerfully sooner than later.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
She is great. Done? Thank you, everyone, for joining USALA Media, an hour with Dave. And remember, vote, vote, vote. Get up. Put them shows down, and don't pay attention to that flat screen TV you bought with your stimulus check, and go out and vote. It's important. If you don't vote, you're going to accept the consequences. I don't want to hear any complaints on my radio show if you did not get up and vote, because the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, did you vote? Are we done today? We're done today. God bless you, everyone. Take care. Love you guys.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch.